There's a misconception that we don't exist, that somehow our ability to excel at the highest level of our industry is limited, that overcoming barriers as a woman of color would be insurmountable. But what would happen if we decided to venture out on our own despite everything we're up against? I'll tell you. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, a healthcare consultant, consulting coach, high performance fanatic, wife, and proud girl mom. I help transform female professionals into thriving solo consultants. And just like you, I'm wearing all the hats and doing all the things. So this podcast is to empower the busy female professionals to move past fear to start and grow a successful consulting business, despite the obstacles you may encounter. We'll dive deep into consulting practice, business strategy, mindset, and more. So grab your cup of coffee or tea if that's your thing, and let's get started. Hello. Welcome to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Angelina Davis, and I am excited to really talk to you today because we are in part 3 of our most recent series on building a consulting business as a busy woman. And I know if you have been tuning in to the previous episodes, where in episode 1 or episode 37, rather, part 1, we talked about what it's like to really shift your perspective when it comes to how you are approaching your business growth, especially when you are extremely busy and you have a lot going on. And then in episode 38, which was part 2, we tackled this whole concept of integration and how you can begin to really integrate your business into your life more seamlessly. And now we are in episode 39 or part 3, which is going to be one that we dive a lot deeper into some elements of implementation. So today we're going to talk about how you can really begin to effectively implement the whole process of integrating your business into your life. Because I think a lot of times we talk about these concepts very broadly and we don't stop and break it down in terms of what this actually means and give some, really practical insight. So I want to just share with you some things that have worked for me in the past, some things that have worked for clients that I have worked with over the years. And I hope that you find this helpful, because when you are extremely busy and where you're trying to accomplish a goal, it can be challenging. Because remember, building is hard work. It is labor. It really is. I know that we like to think of it as being this beautiful journey on social media where we're constantly vacationing and, shopping and taking beautiful pictures. But in all honesty, we know that to do the real work, it requires you to really put in that time, to put in that effort. And so when you have that requirement of you and you are a very ambitious person that's used to succeeding and doing well, it can be a huge challenge, because one of the big, mind shifts I feel like we have to have, or mindset shifts we have to have, is the fact that what we see as being the best of what's required is usually someone else's 110, 150%. So really, when we are able to be a little bit more realistic in how we are expending our energy and what our capacity actually looks like, and then showing up in a way where we are going to meet the needs not only of our business, but those who love us and every other responsibility around us, it can be very freeing. And that's what I want this episode to be. I want it to be an opportunity for you to really sit back, think about these ideas. They may not perfectly fit into your life. We know that everything has to be personalized, but I want you to think on a very broad and general sense. How can you approach this whole idea of building your business to 6 or 7 figures or even beyond? How can you approach that journey in a way that fits more seamlessly into your life while still being able to do it with lean systems and high profits? Because that is something that we definitely want to accomplish so we can have a profitable business that is able to sustain and be sustained over a number of years, so throughout our lifetime. So we're not looking for short fixes and quick solutions. We're looking for ways to really address issues and solve them so that the outcome, the result is something that lasts. One of the most common things I find that I've done in the past, and I definitely have seen clients do very often, is really respond in the moment. So, what this looks like is knowing that you have a lot going on in your life. You may be still working your 9 to 5. You may have a family that you're taking care of. Maybe you have other obligations that you hold. Maybe you're president of different memberships or other organizations. And so you're just doing a lot. You have a lot that's being required of you in that moment. And you may not have created or carved out enough time or space for you to do a lot of the things that you need to do and accomplish for your business development. These are all the things I always say, all the non-sexy things that we have to do, such as, really tracking a lot of our expenses or filing other documents or maybe submitting a pitch. And we are, kind of thinking about all that we want to accomplish in terms of maybe even our website or getting our thought leadership content out there. There's just a lot that we want to do for our business, but we haven't carved out that time fully. And so what happens is whenever we have a free moment, that's when we go into this like quick kick mode and we try and really accomplish some of that work. And what happens is because we are doing that in a more haphazard way, where it's not intentional, it's not really strategic, we're just trying to get what we can done in the moment because we know we need to be consistent with posting. We know we need to, try and send some things out so we can gain more referrals. We know we need to do this work and we haven't really made complete time for it. We try and just put something out there to be able to check it off the list and say that we're done. The thing is, whenever we are doing work in that way, it really is not most effective. We're being reactive instead of really planning and being intentional. So, one of the first things that I want to share is the importance of intentionality. When we are able to be intentional with the work that we do, we will make our lives a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to integrate your business into all the things that you have going on because you can plan for them. But when you're not taking the time out to sit down and map out what needs to be done to be able to prioritize the things that need to be prioritized, then we find ourselves in a situation where we are overwhelmed, number one, oftentimes by the thoughts that are going through our head that we need to get these things accomplished. And then we, once again, react in the moment to try and just get something out there. So one thing that's helped me a lot personally that I love to share, and I've noticed that this is very helpful with clients as well. It takes a little while to kind of get in the groove of doing this consistently, but I always recommend creating yourself a monthly and a quarterly plan. So at the beginning of every quarter, what I like to do is to sit down and really map out my goals for that quarter. And I only set 3 goals or targets for that quarter so that I'm limiting myself in terms of the work that I'm trying to get done. Also, what it helps me to do is to stay on track and make sure that I'm moving strategically over the year to get to an end goal. So an example of this I like to use is how I decided to really ramp up my email marketing. When I started this in the first quarter of this year, what I decided to do was like, hey, I'm just going to send an email to all of my email lists. I am just going to focus on getting an email out there on a consistent basis. And I'm not going to worry about the topic. I'm not going to worry about the formality of it. I'm just going to make sure that I get it done. And I was able to really accomplish that goal over the quarter. Then the next quarter came and I said, okay, well, in this next quarter, what I'm going to do is I am going to make sure that I send out this email once a week, guaranteed. And this email is going to follow a specific structure and a purpose moving forward. So I set that for the second quarter, really focusing in on education and providing more value, things of that nature. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with this for the quarter. I did that and accomplished it. Taking off those little bites, approaching it in a very systematic fashion that way, I was able to get more accomplished. And then I got to the third quarter and said, hey, you know what I'm going to do in the third quarter? I'm going to do more of a focused email marketing launch. And that's something that I've never really leaned into very heavily. But I decided that I was going to make that move and remain consistent and was able to do it. It was much easier for me to do and quicker for me to implement because I had been building on that over the year strategically. And it doesn't mean that you're putting off the outcome until, for instance, 9 months later, but you are actually really building that muscle for you to continue this activity that you want to really be great at over not just this moment, not just a small period of time of 2 or 3 or 4 quarters, but for years to come. And so this is one way that you can easily approach major tasks in your business. The key here is to do it. Most often we know how to set goals. We know how to approach, for instance, the whole goal setting SMART goals model. We know how to do that, but we don't implement it. And that's where we fall short. So part of you being intentional and really making sure that you are carrying these things out in a way that is going to be easier for you to implement because you can plan for them, because you can break them down into smaller components and parts and really take your time and be highly effective in that way, then this is something that I want you to focus on. Focus on the intentionality, focus on implementation. If you're finding yourself following all the successful accounts on Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube, and you're just trying to recreate their strategies, but haven't experienced much growth, or you're consistently sharing tons of helpful content within your industry, almost burning yourself out, but you're still struggling to get potential clients to see the value of the services that you offer, or if you're reaching out to your network and even responding to requests for proposals, but it's just not driving the leads that you want and need. If that's the case, it's time for you to be seen as the expert that you are. It's time for you to make a greater impact. So here's the deal. Using a cookie cutter approach won't help you stand out from the crowd or attract the aligned clients that you need to build a profitable business and create the freedom you desire to live life on your own terms. Your expertise is unique and your approach should be also. That's why I created my signature program, Position to Excel, which is a highly focused, curriculum-based, personalized coaching program developed to help you accelerate the growth of your consulting business by creating a magnetic core offer, an expert personal brand to position your services to sell effectively. And unlike other programs that rely on traditional methods to attract leads, we develop a personalized approach to fill your pipeline without cold calls or reliance on referrals and RFPs. So if you're interested in taking your consulting business to the next level or starting and getting yours off the ground, visit www.excelatconsulting.com, apply for Position to Excel, and let's get started. Okay, the second thing that's going to help you is going to be setting boundaries. Now, I think we often have absolutely no problem really thinking about how we're going to set boundaries around our business. So for instance, we're going to have a shut off time for maybe our devices. We're not going to take calls from clients after a particular time. We begin to set boundaries within our business that makes sense. And we definitely have to do that because you don't want to have all these responsibilities kind of spilling over into other aspects of your life. But the reverse is also true. And this is actually where we fail most often. So the boundaries that I want you to start thinking about is how can you extend some of this boundary work that you've been able to build in your business to other aspects of your life, including family and kids. This is the big one, because if you're like me and you have a family that is constantly in need of something, or kids which understandably need a lot of attention and care, it can be very difficult for someone who is an ambitious woman who is usually charged with doing so much and achieving so many goals and just being great at everything. It's hard to think about putting boundaries up when it comes to those we love. But when it comes to building your business, it's going to be necessary. And what I want to hopefully prove to you today is that even by setting these boundaries, you are not doing harm to anyone else. You're not doing harm to yourself. You're not doing harm to your kids. More than likely, what you're doing is actually enhancing your relationship, teaching some wonderful life lessons, and providing yourself the self-care that you need. So, first things first is that I want you to understand that you really being able to pursue your goals, your dreams, your business development is important, because it's something that you started because you had a desire to make a change and make an impact. You had a desire to generate more money. You had a desire to build a legacy. Whatever your why is, it was what led you to start your business. So that should be respected and given the level of respect that it deserves. And also, you have also been charged with being a caretaker if you have a family, or being a support system if you have other loved ones and friends that you are responsible to. And, there's so much that comes with that job as well, because you don't want to fall off. You want to be there for those who have supported you. You want to be there for those you love. So I want you to really think about how you can create some boundaries, even in those difficult situations. Now, something that has helped me over the years is being able to carve out time that was specifically for my work. And so I like to tell clients to always think about a time of the day that you may not necessarily have others around you, or maybe your responsibilities are low or minimal. But this becomes a time that you set aside, whether it's early morning or late at night or over your lunch break, whatever it may be. It's that small bucket of time that you're able to dedicate into your business and really focus on getting a lot done in that time frame. And then I want you to think about how you can protect it at all costs, including family and kids. The one thing that I noticed, for instance, when I went into consulting and I had more of a flexible schedule, is that my family began to depend on me more and more. So where we had begun to make a lot of adjustments and really make plans for childcare and running errands, things like that, when I was working a traditional 9 to 5, we had those things in place. Now everybody kind of looked at me, and it was more so, that I had the flexibility to help out. And of course, during those times, I wanted to, because I wanted to be helpful. Sometimes I needed to, because maybe I was the only one that was available to run across town and take somebody their lunch, or go and pick up, the lunchbox that they left at home, whatever it may be. However, when we do that consistently, we're not honoring the time that we've set aside for ourselves. We're not honoring the commitment we've made to our business. And so I want you to think about how you can protect that time by utilizing services that you possibly have used in the past, or maybe even just learning how to say no at times. Even when it comes to kids, I know it can be very difficult because we don't ever want to seem as if we're not making time for our little ones. But what I found to be very helpful is that there may be times when I'm working and I'll have the kids come along and sit next to me and do some of their work. And this is even when they were really little. And they, over time, really enjoy being in my space. They learn great habits. My younger daughter is very good at really sitting down and getting a lot of work done, because sometimes when I'll be working, she would just come in and sit across from me at the table and pull out her laptop, and she wanted to get work done too. And so instead of me feeling as if I needed to cater to each and every whim that they may have had, where I would have been sacrificing building a business that would provide some level of income and way for me to send them through, private school and now to college, then they understood what that was all about. And even as I travel now, I can ride along, with my younger daughter in the car as we're going to school. And the other day she asked me, well, hi, Mom, how is your business going? Do you have any new clients? What are they like? And I love that, because it gives her this whole mindset and thought of what she can have in the future. She values the fact that I have the business. She values the fact that I have clients, and she really looks up to that and enjoys really being a part of that. So I want you to think about boundaries in a different way. It does not have to be you really taking your time away from your family or your kids or your loved ones or other responsibilities, but it is just a way for you to carve out maybe 1 or 2 hours out of a 24-hour day to dedicate to something that you love, that you're passionate about, and that is meant to generate more income and wealth for you and your family and you and your loved ones that will allow you to make an even greater impact. So really think about this a lot differently. And I want you to think about how you can set these boundaries and how you can protect this time in order for you to build your business. And last but not least, I know you may not be a fan of creating schedules and having workflows and other processes in place, especially when you may be a solo consultant or working with a small group of people if you have a small firm or agency. You may not feel like you need all of this structure in place. But I'm going to tell you this. If you don't believe anything else, I want you to definitely believe me when I say structure is your key to freedom. Okay? Structure is your key to freedom. The more structure you have, the more freedom you will eventually have. And it's because when you create a structured environment, everyone is aware of what needs to be done. That's going to make it easier for you to outsource and delegate in the future. It's going to make it easier for someone to step in if you're sick or ill or just want to go on a vacation, for you to break away and break free and not have everything just come to a screeching halt. It is going to be what allows you to have peace of mind because you know that you have a process for all of these things and it doesn't require this extra brain power and energy that you may not have day to day. There are times where we're going to be low on energy. There are times where there's going to be so much going on in our lives, it's going to be difficult for us to really stay ahead of the game. That's where structure kicks in and simplifies the process. So when you begin to really focus on creating some level of reproducibility in your business so that you are functioning in a way that is more like a corporation, more like a larger entity, which you eventually will be one day, right? We're going to name it and claim it. So when you function like that, you're creating a situation that is going to give you less stress. It's going to open up the door, like I said, for more flexibility and freedom. It is going to make life a lot easier, and it's going to allow you to actually integrate your business into your life even more, because once again, you'll have things that you can put in place, whether they're automations or extra help and whatnot, that will help you be able to get a lot accomplished even when you're on the go. So I want you to really consider how you can build more structure into your business. How can you create schedules? How can you create processes and workflows so that you can really train yourself to function that way? The more you create structure, the more freedom you will have. Trust me on that. I don't even have to go into a long story on that one. I'm just telling you that one is true. It will make life easier in the end. So I hope that you have really been able to take something away from this episode. My goal is just to really get you thinking about how you can begin to continuously build your business without having to take time off, without having to start and stop, without having to break your momentum. Because when you do that, it's going to take you longer to get the ball rolling. It's going to take you longer to get to the point where you're going to, kind of reach that tipping point where things begin to simplify because you have access to more resources to be able to create, like I was stating before, some of that structure, some of that freedom. So I want you to be able to keep going. That's the key. In order for us to be successful, in order for us to achieve longevity in this industry, we have to keep going. We can't stop. We have to persevere. And in order to do that, it needs to be easier. We're not trying to make this hard. We're not trying to make this difficult. I'm here to help you simplify the process, create a roadmap, and allow you to get there smoothly. And successfully, I might say. So if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. And then also, if you are more than willing, and if you enjoyed this episode and other episodes that you've heard before, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the podcast to grow and reach more people. And then just once again, reach out and connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I love to meet people who listen to the podcast and are part of this audience because I really have the dream of building this into an amazing community. All right, guys, I just hope this helps. Hope you have a great week. And I plan to talk to you again next week. Talk soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Black Girls Consult 2 podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave your review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share it with a friend. We're on a mission to increase the success and longevity of women in consulting, and you can help us do that. Also, I'd love to hear from you, so let's connect at Dr. Angelina Davis on Instagram or LinkedIn. And don't forget to visit excelatconsulting.com for more information to support your consulting journey. Until next time, take care.